Good morning, you guys. So I figured I would sort of take you through my day today. So I'm a virtual assistant, and I just figured, you know what? Why not just sort of take you through my day as I'm marching through my day? Because as a virtual assistant, it's not really like, I wake up in the morning and I start work at a certain time, and that's not really set out for me. It's not like I have set hours, unless I set them myself, which I do tend to try and put some boundaries on the hours that I work, just so that way it's not like, oh, I'm always working until like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I think that the biggest adjustment for being a virtual assistant is going from okay, I go to work and then I have tasks laid out for me all day, and I have subsequent tasks. So, you're always, while you're there, you're working. I think that a lot of typical jobs, that's sort of what it looks like, is that when you're sitting in the office chair, you're working. You're on the clock, you're doing stuff. Even if it's, I don't really have a busy day, I'm still on the clock, I'm still at work, right? And as a virtual assistant, there are definitely days when I am doing a lot of work, when I'm very actively accomplishing tasks. But for the most part, sort of get tasks thrown at me throughout the day. I'm just sort of on standby. Personally, that sort of situation where it's like, okay, maybe, today's a Tuesday, so maybe I have a lot of work to do on a Tuesday, and then the next Tuesday, maybe I have nothing to do at all. I sort of like that. I dig that. I was homeschooled, and that was sort of how it functioned, is where, okay, one week I might be working my butt off, getting a lot of stuff done and doing a lot of things and accomplishing a lot of tasks. And then the next week, it's a pretty, laid back week. That's sort of how my life worked. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm used to that, right? I was raised to operate this way. So I am a part-time virtual assistant, and I'm sort of working towards trying to do it full-time, trying to make that my full-time gig. I'm a virtual assistant, I'm a writer, I'm a copywriter, I do a lot with social media, a lot with writing, but I also do a lot with sort of like data entry type of tasks and very logical, sort of mundane tasks as well. So I do a little bit of everything. I'm sort of one of those virtual assistants that it's like, you throw a task at me, I'm going to learn how to do it. I'm going to figure out how to do it. I don't up front know how to do everything, but I have the ability to learn, which I think is very important if you are going to be a virtual assistant. I think that's pretty vital, right? Because there's a lot of weird tasks that you sort of have to do. I think that that's how it is with any job, really, is that you have to be able to learn. You have to be able to pick up new skills, because if you don't, then you're not going to get anywhere. Oh my word, my neighbor has a basset hound, and he's walking into the street greeting his mom right now. His name is Dewey. He's adorable, but he's also sort of feisty. Dewey is in big trouble.
Stopping on the road shit does nothing.
Yeah. He's so excited to see her. David's about to kill him. So, yeah, I just thought, you know what? I'll just show you a little bit of a sneak peek of my day, because I think being a virtual assistant is sort of a foreign concept to a lot of people. I know I didn't understand it, and it was like, how do you find these jobs? How do you get into this, into this position? And really just how do you get into that community of being a virtual assistant? Because there's a lot of people out there that it's like, oh yeah, you just put yourself out there and you have 10 clients, and that's not the case. Yeah, I thought I would just sort of show you what the day looks like, what being a virtual assistant really does look like. I am currently building my client roster, trying to build my client base. I have one client right now, and I'm working on trying to get with an agency currently. Yeah, I would have to say that, being a virtual assistant for me, it is really a lot about trying to sort of build flexibility so I can pursue my own things. I'm a writer. I'm a writer at heart, and I've been really wanting to write a book since I was about 15. I've had a story on my mind since I was 15, and it's just sort of like developed and sort of like stewed in my mind for the last 10 years. I realized recently that I really want to make that a priority. Obviously, this YouTube channel is very important to me and building that, but really just trying to show my life on this YouTube channel more than anything else than trying to sell something or talk about a particular topic. I just really wanted to share my life with you. And so being a virtual assistant, it's one of those deals where I look at it as an opportunity to actually have flexibility in my life to make money, be working, but also have the ability to actually pursue the things that I want to do and pursue, my own passions and pursue the things that it's like, this is really important to me and this is something I'd like to accomplish in my life. So that's sort of what my come from with being a virtual assistant is. So I'm just trying to pave the way and develop a flexible lifestyle that allows me to pursue things that I truly love. And I'm also very business minded, and I love working with businesses. I think that cell phone people and small businesses and people that are just they're trying to build something, I find that so inspiring and I love it, and I like to help those kinds of people because I just dig business and I dig, getting in there and figuring it out and brainstorming and coming up with ideas. I love it so much. So that's sort of why I am a virtual assistant. You might have your own reasons for wanting to try and be a virtual assistant. I think that it would be an awesome opportunity for, stay-at-home moms or people who, they want to get into an industry. For me, I'm currently working for a YouTube manager, and I've learned so much about YouTube, and it's really sort of opened my mind and given me ideas and given me lots of things to think about, and it's built my knowledge base in a different area, right? Because before I really wasn't in the social media space, but becoming a virtual assistant for this particular individual, it's really helped me to develop a bone and gain knowledge and understanding of social media, and sort of get me out of my shell and help me in the social media space. So yeah, I figure that's what I'll do with you today. Obviously, I just got ready. It is 9:30 right now. So typically on the days, so I go into an office and work about 3 days a week. So I have Mondays and Tuesdays off where I'm doing the virtual assistant stuff. And typically on those days I get up at about 6 and I basically do my own thing for about 2 hours. And I like to get started at about 8. So today I got started, I was writing until about 8 o'clock, and then I got started working on some of the projects that my current client is having me work on. But then I had a little bit of a break, and so I thought, okay, I'll do the dishwasher, maybe I'll get some breakfast. I like to exercise at about mid-afternoon usually. I don't like to usually exercise first thing in the morning. Yeah, so my tasks are sort of just scattered in and throughout the day, but that really allows me to say, you know what, I'll take a break and I'll go do some yoga, and then I'll come back to it. And then I will go, like I said, go do the dishwasher, and then I'll come back to it and, do my own stuff, and I'll come back to it. So that's sort of what my day typically looks like, and that's what my day has looked like so far. So it is 9:30 right now, and I am about to work on some reels for my current client. So when I started being a virtual assistant, I already had a few skills under my belt. I already had a little bit of video editing in my portfolio that I had done for this channel in particular, a little tiny bit of graphic design, and I think that the biggest thing that I had on my side was writing. I am pretty good at writing, and copywriting in particular. I really had learned a little bit about SEO writing and writing for SEO and keywords and stuff like that. So that definitely came in handy to know, and that was actually how I was hired for the current job that I have, for the current client that I have, was that I was really good at writing on the application. And as far as how I found this individual, so I had been a part of her community. I had participated in her online course. She has a YouTube course. I was on her email list, and she sent out an email saying that she had an open position, and she had a Google form that I filled out. And I mean, I really took very good care when I was filling that application out, just to make sure that everything, my T's were crossed, my I's were dotted, things like that. And that was how I got hired for that job. And I mean, I think that is honestly an incredible way to get started, is if you are a part of some kind of community already, and if you are really involved in somebody's business already, that would be an awesome way to get started, because you're familiar with them and you can come to them with a lot of passion and with a lot of experience. You've experienced what they teach, you've experienced their come from and their how they operate. You've already experienced that, and perhaps you really agree and vibe with how they operate. And so when you're able to come to them from that perspective, it makes you very appealing, just because they know that you've had experience with them. Obviously, I am trying to get into an agency. It's going to help me get into contact and get connected with other clients without me having to put in a lot of legwork finding the clients. But I think that, there's tons of people out there. Just look at your local businesses, go in and say, listen, I'm doing this. A lot of them, they don't have 40 hours a week, and they don't want to pay somebody 40 hours a week, but they might have 5 or 10, and they're willing to pay somebody to help them with, the little admin tasks or social media especially. A lot of the small businesses, they just don't have time for that. They just don't have time for the nitty-gritty little things that you might be really good at and you might thrive at. And so don't be above going into your local businesses, your small businesses, anybody you know, any little boutiques in your local town. I know my town is loaded with boutiques. And so don't be afraid to go in and say, hey, I'm a virtual assistant. Do you need help? And, have your resume there, just tell them who you are, be a human being, and tell them what you offer and how you can help. And that might be really appealing to them. Plus, if you're not on the payroll, that's even more appealing, because they don't have to worry about all the taxing and stuff like that. So that's how I sort of got started with being a virtual assistant. Okay, so I've just been spending a lot of time, obviously, working on the reels that I said I was going to be working on, but also just sort of going back and forth with the other members of my client's team, and with my client. That is a massive part of my job. We use the app Voxer, so we use different apps like Voxer, Dropbox, a lot of Google Drive. We also use some other apps like Loom, ClickUp, Airtable. So there's some different sort of business management apps that we use on the computer and on your phone, and also just learning a lot about different elements of the business and different AI programs. There's always just new things that you're learning and sort of experimenting with and trying to basically make your job easier and more efficient. And I think that has been a massive adjustment, because typically when you go to an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job, it is just okay, I have to be here for this shift, and all of my tasks together, they might not equate to this 8 or 9 hour shift that I have to work. So what am I going to do? I'm going to make my task last a long time so I'm not bored, right? So I'm busy all day. Whereas with being a virtual assistant, a lot of times your goal is to work faster. Your goal is to be more efficient. Your goal is to not waste your client's money. And basically trying to trim down how much time it takes you to get a task done. Which is why a lot of times you really want to try and collect more clients. You want to try and find ways to get more clients and to have more skills, so that way if you do have a client, you have a lot more to offer them. They don't have to go and find other people to do something that you can learn how to do or you know how to do. A lot of times I bring a lot of different things to the table. Like I said, writing, graphic design, Excel spreadsheets, report building, video editing, reels, social media stuff. I mean, there's all these different things that I bring to the table as a virtual assistant. It's not just one thing. And that really helps your client not have to find more virtual assistants, but it also helps you to get more work. So a lot of times there's, just trying to be more efficient with your time and trying to be more efficient with your work. And obviously there's also different moments when you have trouble, when you're trying to sort of troubleshoot some things. We had just like right now, we had a video that wasn't, it's like an hour and a half long video that I have to work on, but I only had like 7 minutes of it. And so troubleshooting, it really comes down to you. It doesn't, there's not somebody higher up, figuring out and finding an answer and solution for the problem comes down to you usually. And just being able to do that and being flexible. And yeah, I also do a lot with posting videos for my client. And sometimes I've had this on a number of occasions where, it's not like my day is limited to, I work from 8 in the morning to 4 or 5 o'clock at night. Sometimes, I'm relying on other people's work schedules and other people's, livelihoods basically. And so, her video editor might not be able to get to it until, I don't know, like 8 o'clock at night. And so I've had a number of times when, I am working pretty late, not because I've been working all day and I've had that much work, but because somebody else was delayed that I depend on. And so my work sort of gets, moved around. And so, that's both something to be aware of, that you might be working late because of that. And I think it's also something that you need to be aware of, that sometimes there's other people that depend on your work. There's other people that depend on you accomplishing your task, so that way they're not staying up super late. And so you have to be aware of other people's time and be respectful of other people's time as well. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at right now. I'm still working on some reels. I'm still working on doing that kind of stuff. Lots of writing, lots of caption writing, lots of back and forth, doing different reviews. And yeah, that is something I would say, is that you always need to be going back and forth with your client and making sure that, okay, I have this done, I did this project, asking for feedback, being good at receiving feedback, being good at receiving criticism, being good at saying, okay, I need to make those changes. Always ask for review, always ask for, basically, they're okay to move forward with something. When I first got started, I would do something and it's like, okay, well, I think it's good, so I just went ahead and posted it or went ahead and did something, and it was like, that was not the thing to do, because my client they wanted to make some changes to it. So always, 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 always be like in communication with your client. And I am constantly in communication, constantly, sending things to her, making sure things are okay, making sure things look the way she wants them to look. Because at the end of the day, it's not your business, it's them, and it's their brand, and it's what they want to put out. And so it doesn't matter if you think it looks okay or if you think it looks really nice. If they want it to look different, they want it to look different. It is a client situation, right? Sometimes they will lean on you to give them feedback and give them your expertise, but at the end of the day, what they like is what you need to do. So that is definitely something to get used to. And yeah, just that whole review process and the back and forth is a massive part of my job. Alright, so I'm actually going to stop and have a little bit of a snack slash breakfast slash just snack. It's 11sies. Because I do have a couple of questions for my client, but she's actually on the West Coast. She's in California. So for me, it is one of those deals. I'm in the East Coast, not the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time. She's in California time. So a lot of times it's one of those deals where it's like, okay, we're operating on completely different time zones. And so that can also be something that you really need to navigate. You know, if it's like, okay, I really want to sort of get content and stuff ready and just tasks done before she wakes up, so that way, you know, everything's all settled in before she even gets started for the day. Being aware of the fact that she's probably going to be working later than I am just because it's earlier for her. So sometimes, you know, she'll be texting me at midnight, but I'm asleep. So just being aware of the time zone differences is sort of a big thing. And yeah, so right now I'm not even sure if she's awake yet. So I do have a couple of questions for her, so I'm just going to take a short little break, have a snack, and then I will get back at it. Alright, so I've been sort of like working along throughout the day, and I'm sort of dead in the water. I messaged, you know, some of the different people that I work with, having some questions, just asking questions, making sure, you know, everything's good to go, or sort of asking for the okay to move forward with something, and they haven't responded yet. So I'm sort of dead in the water in terms of that. I'm trying to decide if I'm wanting to get some writing done today, or if I'm wanting to get some emails done that I want to send to basically to like brands and stuff like that I'd like to work with. But before I do that, I think I am going to go ahead and do some yoga, just because I find that stopping and getting some movement in is really helpful. I usually do weight training and stuff like that throughout the 4 days that I'm not going into an office, but I've really been having a lot of tightness in my back and my hips, and so yeah, I definitely need to be doing some more yoga, and I figure just take a little bit of a break from lifting weights and stuff like that and doing some yoga as part of my exercise routine is going to be super nice. But yeah, that's sort of the downside to being a virtual assistant, is that there are times when it's like you're available, you're 100% available, you have oodles of time, and maybe you set aside time to work. But that doesn't always mean that the people you work for and the people you work with, it doesn't always mean that they're available. Sometimes that sort of is the struggle, where, you know, you are 100% available, you're 100%, you know, dialed in, ready to go, and nobody else really is. Nobody's getting back to you. You know, everybody else on your team or everybody else that you work with is busy. So that's sort of something that you need to, I guess, navigate as you go along. And I mean, you just get used to it as you go. And I think the biggest thing that you have to learn how to do is always having something else you can do, right? Because you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to be wasting time waiting for somebody to respond, and you don't want to spend your life watching TV and doing nothing because you're just waiting for people to reply. You know, I try to find ways that I can fill that time, fill in those gaps, and be productive in other ways. You know, like doing YouTube stuff, writing, emailing people, you know, doing whatever. Creating content, whatever it might look like, trying to find ways to fill in that time, so that way it's not like it's time wasted all the time. Because yeah, I feel like that is sort of a negative to being a virtual assistant, is that sometimes it just feels like there's a lot of wasted space that you're trying to fill in. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do some yoga. I really like Boho Beautiful Yoga. I find that their practices are just really awesome and very effective. So, and I've been following them. I've been following them since they were less than 1 million subscribers, for probably about 4 or 5 years actually. So I really, maybe even longer than that. I really like their stuff, and yeah, I really like their classes. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some yoga. Okay, so I just finished yoga up, and that honestly felt really good. I think that that is the one health problem that you might get from being a virtual assistant, is just that you're sitting a lot and you don't move a lot, and you're sort of, you're hunched over your computer, which that's how it is with any desk job, any office job, obviously, is that you are sitting down and you are on your computer, and it's just not very good for your back, for your hips, for your legs, for any of that. And so staying, active, exercising, that was just like a 20-25 minute little yoga practice, and I think that really helps. I think that yoga is honestly one of the best things I've done for myself. I started doing yoga in college, actually, and it helps me to slow down, helps me to gain a little bit of calm about myself. But just, stretching and getting all of the tightness out of your body, and stretching, and just, any tension, anything like that, it just feels really good. So, if you are thinking about being a virtual assistant, I highly recommend starting a yoga practice, because that will help you tremendously. Let's see, so nobody's really gotten back to me, and so I'm sort of trying to decide what it is that I'm going to do, because, I just don't have a ton of work to do in general. So I'm sort of thinking that what I'll do is spend some time writing. Like I said, writing, I've sort of gained some clarity in the last few days that writing is one of my priorities. Writing really is honestly one of the most important things to me. And so, just trying to spend time writing, just brainstorming, writing, getting things written, and so I will probably check back in whenever I get a response from the people that I need to talk to, so. Okay, so it is, it's a little, I think it's almost like 4:45 or something like that, and I've sort of had a day of waiting and just sort of navigating the waiting, and I got back with my client and sort of trying to get something figured out as far as, okay, what AI program she wants to use to transcribe videos and stuff like that, and then also she's working with the editor, a video editor that she has for one of her clients, that basically I help her manage one of her clients, and so she's been sort of back and forth with her video editor, so now I'm sort of waiting on the video editor to complete whatever she needs to do in order to proceed with what I need to do, which is post the video. So, sort of been a waiting game today, and again, a lot of that always depends. It depends on the client that you have. If you have like a super busy client, if you have somebody who, perhaps they are a one-man show and they're trying to get everything figured out. My client in particular, she's a mom of 3, and she's running a business, and so there's just a lot going on in her life. And so a lot of times you are navigating a lot of schedules, and that's the thing with being a virtual assistant, is a lot of times you're surrounded by a lot of other freelancers, right? It's not like you're a team and everybody's sort of doing the same project at the same time on the same schedule and everything like that. Rather, it is, oh, well, I'm working on it on this day at this time, and, so-and-so's working on it on this day at this time, because time zone differences and different schedules and everything like that. And so really navigating that is huge. You have to learn to be flexible. A lot of people want to say that, virtual assisting, it's super easy and it's super, like your life is just so easy and you put in a couple hours and you make all this money, and that is not the case. That is not the case at all. I think that if you get a good gig, you get a good gig, but for the most part, I mean, you're still working hard. And on another level, I mean, you just have to learn how to be flexible. It is a completely different kind of work schedule and a completely different kind of lifestyle. You know, rather than somebody saying, okay, this is when you work and this is what you do and this is, all the things, rather than everything being sort of laid out for you, you really need to be able to make those decisions and manage your time really well. And it's a learning process constantly. I mean, I was homeschooled, I was born, raised, everything to manage my time and to have control over my time, and you're still, I mean, it's always a process of learning and figuring it out and, adjusting and making adjustments. And so if you're not really very good at that, or if you don't like life that way, if you really want to go to your job, know when you're working, know what's going on, then yeah, being a virtual assistant is not for you, because that's just not what the life looks like. But if you are willing to be very flexible, willing to say, okay, during the day I have all this free time and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and get these things done, for me personally, and then the evenings are sort of taken up with work, or getting up earlier in order to get something done that needs to be done. If you're willing to make those adjustments and sort of roll with the punches and stuff like that, then I mean, it's a great gig and it's a great thing to really get into. Alright, so I'm going to, let me get into better light, yikes. I'm going to end this video off here just because I actually am waiting still for one of the tasks that I need to do tonight, and it'll either happen later on tonight or it'll happen early in the morning before I go to work, that I'm able to actually get whatever it is that I need to get done. So yeah, it is currently a little after 6, and yeah, like I said, I am still waiting on one of the things that is a part of my task. I'm waiting for it to be finished by somebody else. So yeah, that's just sort of a day in my life. It's very relaxed. Obviously, it's a very relaxed, very casual kind of job, but at the same time, there's just a lot of elements of it that is a lot of communication, a lot of being flexible, a lot of working around other people and other people's lives, and really communicating what's going on in your life so that way other people can work around you. And yeah, it's really just a matter of being very flexible and of being willing to have your life look a little bit different every day, have your life look different every week. So yeah, personally, I like it. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's very freeing, because I mean, it's nothing for me to say, okay, you know what, I can go do this or that, or have appointments in the middle of the day, or go to an event with my family and not really be worried about PTO and stuff like that, but that I'm able to work ahead, I'm able to build up, whatever cash that I need. And yeah, if you're looking for virtual assistant jobs, like I said earlier, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can find virtual assistant, or just, admin work in general, whether that is that you actually go in and talk to local businesses and local business owners that you know, going on to, anybody that you follow on social media, if social media is your shtick, or if you think that, you have something that you can offer to those people, then definitely, reach out. And they're always posting, there's always people posting that they need to hire a virtual assistant, or that they need to hire help of some sort. And so if you feel like being a virtual assistant is something that you'd really like to do, don't be afraid to really look, and don't be afraid to market all of the different skills you have. Just because you haven't been a virtual assistant before doesn't mean that you don't have really valuable skills that somebody could use. When I got the job that I have now, I had never been a virtual assistant before. I'd had admin jobs before, but I mean, I had worked in a CPA firm. I had worked in a career services office. I had, I had my own YouTube channel. I'd done all these different things. I had, a background in accounting and finance. So there was a lot of different stuff that I've done that made me a good candidate, and that made me really a great virtual assistant. And so just because you haven't been paid as a virtual assistant, just because you haven't done virtual assistant work before, doesn't mean that you're not valuable, and it doesn't mean that, there is an opportunity out there for you. Everybody starts from somewhere, and yeah, I've had one client for a little over a year, and I'm just now starting to, have prospects for other clients. So yeah, I would definitely say don't just jump into it. Don't just sit, throw all your cards in and do it without, knowing that, okay, I can't have this income. This is, something that's dependable to some degree. Just because, there are months where, I put in tons of work and I'm getting, paid all this money. And then there's other months where, oh man, my work, I worked a third of the time that I worked these previous months, and money's a little bit tight. So really learning how to budget, really learning how to, set back money, really learning how to just being prepared and thinking ahead and being flexible, like I said. That's a major part of it, and it's a major, I think it's a major perk and something that's very appealing to me, for one, but it's also a big adjustment just because there isn't really a known. It's not all set in stone. It's not all clear cut. There's a lot of unknowns and just a lot of flexibility required. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit off the cuff, but I just felt like, that's a major part of my life. It's sort of something that I'm doing a lot of, and like I've said before, I'm really trying to come onto this channel from where I'm at and no fluff. And this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing, and just sharing with you my life, sharing with you what I'm doing in my life, and just sort of using this channel as a diary of sorts. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.